Hey guys, I know this is kind of a late upload to the game. I've just had a kind of a crazy August, so I never really got around to doing this. It's one of those things where if you forget to do it and force yourself to do it early on, you just keep pushing it back. But I really wanted to do this because of the looming ban list that's coming up, and this deck will definitely never be at this same strength ever again. So, basically, I took this deck to Nats. I only made it to round 8. I thought the deck did pretty well overall. Just most of the losses were either from getting hand trapped to death. I bricked once. That was really bad. Like, it was basically just a lose to one to hand trap kind of deck. Hand and normal summon Ash on the opponent's turn definitely sealed the deal. And then also just some misplays. But because that was I mean, that's now, almost a month ago now. And Fiendsmith were just out, and I had just picked it up, and I wasn't really sure. I wasn't 100% confident in playing with it, but I did play with the cards, and I did enjoy them. And then I did play the deck in an FCQ the next day on that Sunday, and got my invite to next year's Nats already. So this is basically that deck with a couple tweaks and changes, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same list. If I went to a regional, I think there's one this upcoming Saturday in Indianapolis that's near me, and then one next Saturday after that in Rosemont, Illinois, which I could go, I think, to the Rosemont one, but who knows if that'll be a new list or same one. If it would, I would probably just take this deck with basically the same card list, maybe a couple changes. So anyways, here's the list, starting with the Infernoids, 3 Decatron, and then basically one of pretty much all of the other guys that don't matter. This is the only one you could argue 2 copies of because of Feast, but if you do the combo correctly, he gets shuffled back to the deck anyways. For the bigger guys, 2 of the 7s and 2 of the 8s. The 7s matter because of, again, Feast, depending on your board size. So Feast summons up to 3 Infernoids. Levels have to equal 8, so it's usually Decatron and a 7, or 2 Decatrons and a 6. 8s matter because you basically need to do the hand rip combo, which I did several times at the event, which was super fun, and people were definitely not expecting. Even going second, I would do it after, I'd play through their board or whatever, I'd hand rip whatever's left in their hand. Yeah, you need this guy to banish to send 8 Infernoids to basically get you to that exact 10 to shuffle back. And then for the big guys, 2 of the 9s and 2 of the 10s. In my last video, I was playing 3 of each of these guys. In this version of the deck, you definitely don't need 3. 2 seems to be the pretty standard that everyone's doing, and very rarely did more copies of these come up. It's really only in like very niche grind games. Otherwise, yeah, this is pretty much fine. Even then, this is a lot of Noids, and you will probably see less of these in other people's lists. Yeah. And then for the, we'll go to the Snake Eyes. We got 3 Ash, 3 Poplar. Poplar is still a starter, and because I'm playing a 60 card deck, I just want to make sure I start with something. I'm also playing some more Rotas for level 1s, which I'll show you later in the spells, but if you watch my other video, it's Jack in the hand, so this basically becomes even more important because if you potentially give this to your opponent, you have less in your deck, so you really do need that 3rd copy. And then 3 Witch, 1 Oak, 1 Flamberge, and 1 Snake Eyes Eel Blast there. Some people say not to play this card because it gets stuck to the hand, and dang right does this card get stuck to my hand, and I hate it every time it does. But when it does it, or even if it does, because Tempo can pretty much place from anywhere, it's a great extender, and it definitely sometimes gets you there. So I still enjoy playing the card. Okay, and moving on to the Fiendsmith, which was the last of the monsters. 3 Engravers, which we did have the 3 QCRs for Nats, which was kind of cool to flex there. I pulled 1 and then bought 2 from friends, and then the 1 Larry. Not DT, but I'm a fan of the super rarity over the DT. Moving on to spells and traps. There's only 1 trap anyways. We got the 3 Wanteds for the Snake Eye stuff, 1 Temple, and 2 OSS. I like 2 OSS because it sometimes helps with sometimes you just want to open one as a starter itself, and then also gives you 1 to search on your opponent's turn with Poplar if you summon it off Flamberge and you weren't able to shuffle it back or put it back with Wanted, sorry. And then, of course, 3 Bonfires for the consistency of the Snake Eye engine. So pretty much the only thing that's off here that you would normally see is maybe 1 OSS, but I think 2 was just fine. Never conflicted anything. It was beneficial. For the Snake Eye engine, I actually played, because I'm playing a 60 card deck and I really wanted to access the Snake Eye, or sorry, I'm playing 3 tracked. I wanted to access the Fiendsmith engine. I played 3 of these because even just opening up this by itself can help extend you pretty well. Not a complete starter by itself, not just yet, but it can still do some things. And then 1 Synced because I wanted another Fiendsmith spell or trap to search with Engraver in case you opened up 1 tracked and 1 Engraver. And I don't know if people have noticed that, where it's like where you're usually playing 2 to 3 Engager and 1 tracked. If you open up both in your in your hand. That is like the worst thing ever, because then basically this is still good, but this has nothing to search, and that kind of stinks. So Synced is actually really good. It's basically just Hornet Drones, summons a token, late fiend token that you can use basically go right into Requiem. With basically you have to control either only light fiends or no monsters. So almost a Hornet Drones, and then it locks you into fiends for attack for this turn. But if you're going first, that doesn't matter. Even going second, that almost doesn't matter because we're playing Infernoids and they're all fiends. So this card's, I think, kind of cool and kind of slept on. I think people should try it out, especially going forward when Fiendsmith are still going to be continuing to be played in every deck. For the Infernoid spells, 3 Imagination. I just love this card for going second. It's basically Shut All Fusion on crack. For going first, you open this and 2 Infernoids. It's basically kind of a really good, not really a starter, but basically just generates you a bunch of Infernoids, which is really cool. And yeah, and then so that's basically polymerization going first. So it's kind of cool there. And then we got 1 Banishment. I was playing 3 of this in the main event. Just as basically a backup if everything else got stopped. I can discard Search and still end on and grab Feast and still have, basically a DD Crow and 2 negates, which it is. It's great. Unfortunately, it's not always how it ended up. Sometimes I kept drawing this card, which really sucked because I didn't have anything else to go with it because I wasn't able to get to another one to send for it. So that's kind of a brick there, but it's really good. And also it locks you in Infernoids the rest of the turn, so you couldn't really like just lead with it to get Imagination. Because like going second, I would love to lead with Imagination if I can, or like to like start breaking their board from there and really baits out some stuff. But Banishment into Imagination, unfortunately, you do that and then you have like no more plays because you're just locked to Infernoids and you get level locked with Tierra. So unless you're playing like Entis to pop your own Tierra, it's not good. I mean, you can try to battle phase crash, banish both, and then you can clear up there, but then like you lose your battle phase, so that's kind of rough. So anyways, I tried two in the for FCQ. Just the way I just had another one to search in case I needed it for things like Chaos Angel or whatever, because Chaos Angel and the Light and Dark can be very tough to out. So I did 2 for that, and that worked fine. And then I figured, well, 1 probably just makes the most sense because I'm really only going to be searching it with Evil when I need it, and then that will search me in my Feast. I would love to play 3, but also another downside is Droll. Droll makes this card where it would be a good, like last-ditch effort to get some negates. It just ends up turning into a dead card. So there's that. All right, for busted one-offs, called by. Figured I didn't play it in the main event because I was like, it's one-up in a 60-card deck. Will it really come up? And sometimes it does. If you draw it, cool. If you don't, whatever. It's a busted card and probably needs to get banned. But on the other hand, because we have the upcoming new Mulch Army coinciding with the existing one, I almost feel like maybe now we need more Cold Wise, which is weird because I've been arguing for this card to get banned for basically ever since it went to 1, because it just basically just feels like a hand rip for the person going first. You just basically just ignore 1 card in your opponent's hand and then just continue to full combo. And then 1 for 1, obviously just accessing the Stake Eye Engine is crazy, or Decatron for an extender. And then Instant Fusion, which summoning Evil is crazy. And then for consistency, 3 Jack in the hand, basically reveal 3 level 1s. I'll usually reveal Ash, Snake Eyes Ash, Poplar, and then it can either be Decatron or actually Infernoid Prometheus, because Prometheus just needs to banish 1 Infernoid to summon, so he can kind of be an extender in himself. And he's also a Night Beam effect, so he can hit bait out back row. So that's a really good starter, really helps with the consistency of the deck. Getting Drolled on this card sucks, otherwise the card's fine. Sometimes people read it and just were scared and just ashed it right away, and I was like, okay, cool, normal summon Ash. And then 3 talents for basically this and Called By as the main non-engine cards. Just to give me an option going second to like Steel Appaloosa, or going first to, like not lose the hand traps as much. So that is the 60 card main deck. Obviously playing Infernoids, you're going to have them being bricks, so ideally you want to not draw as many Infernoids at all. Maybe 1 at best, but 0 is always optional. The Void spells are good, but yeah, drawing Infernoids can stink, so that's definitely the downside of the deck, and probably why I'll never be a meta contender in today's game, where game is so fast and so crucial, where every card in your hand needs to matter. So yeah, it's kind of a bummer, but I still enjoy Infernoids, and any chance to make them work, I will do. Okay, moving on to the extra deck. We'll go starting with the fusions. There's the links. We'll start with the links. For generics, I did not organize this. My apologies. Anima. Anima, I know he's very cuttable, but he comes up a lot, and he's really good with OSS. Hida, really good for the mirror and going first. Summon back their Ash and go to Princess that way. For generics, we got SP Little Knight, and oops, not that guy, and Appaloosa. I hope this card gets banned. This card was the reason for a lot of my losses, is because they basically built their board around Appaloosa, especially with the Phoenix protecting in it, and I basically had to eat through 3 monster negates before I could even interact with the rest of their boards. So this card, when it first came out, and for the past few years, has been fine and good, and I wouldn't say fair, but good and tolerable. But now it's basically to the point where it's just too good. Yeah, so I think this card is good to go, and hopefully it does soon. For the and then also Princess to go along with the basically Snake Eye / Fire stuff. More for the combo, we've got the Proxy F Magician. It's what lets you fusion someone with monsters you control, which can be used to summon basically evil. With 2 Noids you control, that's what you need for the combo. You can also be used to summon this guy if you control 2 Light Fiends, so that's kind of cool. It can also be used to summon Garura with like 2 monsters of the same type and attribute, so 2 Snake Eyes sometimes if I just want to draw and they're not doing anything. That's kind of cool. Garura was the Necroquip Princess for the FCQ. But I did play Guru in the main event, and I missed it when I wish I had the Necroquip Princess in the main event, because there was times where I got stuck, and I was like, dang, I can't do anything except SP pass. And then I tried it in the FCQ, and then I was like, dang, this card never came up. I wish I had Guru. So, yeah. And then, Tier, well, I got really sidetracked with some links. I still have more link monsters. Well, but yeah, Tier, this is basically the hand-ripping card. So, basically, when it's made with 10 different Infernoids, you can send both players' hand to the grave. The other effects don't matter in that respect, but they are pretty cool. Send 3 from extra deck to grave, and send 3 from the top of both players' deck to grave. So it basically eats through their extra deck a little bit, and the top, and then the milling 3 can kind of feel your grave, also feel them a little bit. So that kind of can backfire a little bit, especially against branded. That's usually the most common first 2 effects you get. The second one is if you have, I think it's 8 or more. Yeah, 8 or more. Both player returns up to 3 banish, which in the combo actually matters because you're returning banished Infernoids that you use that turn. But yeah, the 10 or more Infernoids, that's like something you would never ever pull off ever in the past Yu-Gi-Oh! For Infernoids ever. But a card like Sequence really gets you there, because Sequence plus Evil is what you get, because Evil dumps a bunch of Infernoids, and Sequence fusion summons for any Infernoid. I don't know why they decided that. It should have been just Fiendsmith or Light Fiends, but they decided just Fiends. So, yeah, we get to fusion with our graveyard that we just dumped all these Noids and summon back this dude and then hand rip you. And then for the other guys to go with those, we got obviously the Moon, which this card's a little crazy, being able to go basically a Nightmare Cerberus or Phoenix right into a Nightmare Mermaid, which is, we've seen this before. Yeah, otherwise, pretty cool. And then 1 Beatrice for the Snake Eyes line, if you open up only Fiendsmith engine, and then 1 Flood. Well, that was a very unoriented extra deck. Apologize for that. Side deck. For basically, it was all going second cards for the most part. 3 Eclipse, which can be good going first as well to dodge cards like Impermanent Veiler, and also really good against Tempai, because it basically acts like Daruma Cannon, where as soon as they enter battle phase, as long as they don't have the synchro that you can't activate cards or effects, you could just flip all their monsters face down and win from there. 3 Cosmic, 3 Evenly, 3 Droplet, and 1 Dark Ruler. This could be more copies, but I'm citing a couple extra deck monsters, which is pretty common right now, so it's almost argues the question is like, is Fiendsmith worth it because it eats so much extra deck space? Should Konami give us more extra deck slots? Probably not. If we've made it this far in the game without it, I mean, they've introduced so many mechanics so far. We stayed at 15, but anyways, I digress. Anyways, so played IP, which I wish I could play in the main extra deck, because the card is obviously just really bonkers. Bannable, probably not, but it is cool. I mainly just side it for going first against shifter decks, so I can just do the normal temple this into SP line, and then just the time card, Scarlet, Red Dragon, Archfiend. So those are all fine. Otherwise, if I wasn't playing them, there'd probably just be 2 more Dark Rulers. I think the side deck is fine. It's not perfect. Obviously, no hand traps in the main or side is scary, especially against cards like or decks like Gimmick Puppets or any FTK deck really, or even who's playing my deck. Yes, and the token. Level 1, just like the, but it's not a Light Fiend, but it's a Fire Fiend. It's close enough to the Fiendsmith Sync that summons. But yeah, that's basically the main deck. Like I said, other options you can play is double, triple banishment, so here's 2 more copies. And then I really like Breach. Breach gives you attack boost for each banished Noid, and it can add back Noids or summon a Noid from your hand, ignoring summon conditions. Only downside is to activate either of the effects. You have to control only fiends or no monsters, so that's why I don't really like the card with the Snake Eyes in the mix. Other extra deck monsters that I'd love to play is, like I said, I was trying Necroquip. This was really good if you are on Fiendsmith and you want to be able to do something. She matters because you could basically link the Engraver and the Requiem off, summon her, and then summon back the Engraver and make a Beatrice or what have you, or a Sequence. You can do some things. Some cool guys to send off the Tiara, which these don't really matter because I'm hand ripping, but in other builds it was nice because they can summon basically Decatrons back and then trigger Flood's Banish effect. Desiree is also a cool card, although I did try Desiree out a little bit. I didn't like it because he's level 9. For people who aren't super familiar with Infernoids basically say if your board of effect monsters is 9 or higher or rank 9 or higher, you can't summon Infernoids except basically Decatron or the fusions. So since him being level 9, once he hits the board, you're not summoning back any Noids. So that is a big no-no. Gravity Controller for linking off Tiara. Their Fiends, summoning back Fiends is cool. Zelantis, Raging Phoenix, busted. Fortunately, no room. That's basically it for cards you could be playing. Maybe Reignition. You could play like 2 to 3 of that. It's like basically a filter through your deck and draw a bunch of cards. Otherwise, can't think of a whole lot. Thrust would be cool, but again, Droll's kind of just in the format, especially if they see Fiendsmith Droll's going in, so makes cards like Thrust not as good. Otherwise, I'd love it Thrust. Love to play Thrust. I really hate Droll. So, Konami, if you're watching this, ban Droll, please. Yeah, that concludes the main deck. Again, yeah, sorry for the delay in the upload. I know I've seen some other people upload in their channels. I was watching their videos and kind of seeing what their version of it. So kudos on them for doing that. But yeah, I did play this at Nats, and I did at least upload my well, not uploaded, but I did post about my deck and standings and stuff like that in the Infernoid Facebook group. Yeah, but I'll do a combo tutorial for anyone who's interested, and yeah, I'll continue with that next. Alright, here's the combo portion of the video. Basically showing you how one Snake Eye Ash can basically turn into a hand rip with several negates. Yeah, I guess all the more reason Snake Eyes needs to get hit. But in the meantime, I'll enjoy it while I can, and I have while I could. So basically, normal summon Ash, search Poplar, Poplar effect special, nothing universal there. Poplar effect searching OSS, well, OSS sending off the Poplar to summon a Decatron from the deck, because Decatron is indeed a level 1 fire. New chain, we got Decatron and Poplar. Placing itself in Decatron will send a monster. Basically doesn't matter too much what we send here. We're basically just sending an Infernoid. I'll go ahead and just send Athondel to get ready for later in the combo, because basically we'll be summoning this one back. Next up, we're going to Ash effect away the Decatron in itself to summon Oak. Oak will target Decatron to summon, since he is a level 1 fire in fact, and then we'll go his effect again. For fun, we'll go ahead and summon or send Devi Adi, so we can get her later in the combo. Also have a monster negate live so we can be ready for a Nibiru, but to do this combo fully in this way without any other cards in the variable, we probably will play into Nib at some point anyways. But anyways, Oak effect sending itself in the Poplar to summon the Flamberge, and then from here we will link to into Proxy F Magician. Proxy it, and we'll get our Flamberge trigger to summon 2 level 1 fires. We'll go ahead and summon back Decatron, and doesn't matter what else, can be the Poplar, Ash, Oak, whatever. And then Decatron will trigger for a 3rd time, giving us our 3rd Infernoid engrave. That should be engrave. Here we want to make sure we will send a 6 or lower Infernoid. So I usually send the 5 because I want to keep the 6 not getting banished. So I'll send the 5, so he becomes a level 6 and 7. So just a note that we are only at level 7 for the board, so I could still summon Infernoids. That's the key thing here. If you send the 7, then that's a 8, and this is a 9. So then you'd be at level 9, so then you can't summon any more Noids. So we have to send either the 6 or lower. So I'll banish the Piatti and the Deviati to summon back Atondel. And now we can use Proxy F's Magician effect to fusion summon. So fusion summon using 2 monsters I control, which is 2 Infernoids, and we'll summon Evil. Now, if we had another small monster in hand with 1,000 less attack, if we summon it to the zone that Proxy F points to, Proxy F can trigger and can summon another monster basically from your hand. Could be another Snake Eye, could be another Decatron, which is very common that I would do. If not, that effect doesn't apply and doesn't really matter for the combo. It's just kind of like a, oh, it can put another body on the board for free, basically. So Evil effect will activate on summon. We'll banish an Infernoid from our grave to send level or number equal to level of banish. So this is 8. So we're going to send 8 different Noids. We have to make sure we send at least one of each of the big guys because we need to perform a fusion summon for Tierra later in the combo, and the requirements on that is for both of them. So we'll send in the 2 definitely required ones will be the 2 big guys, so Deviati and Nansu, and then from here we can basically send whatever. So I'll send the 6, the 4, the 3, the 2, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the 7, 8. And that's basically why we play at least one of all of them. I could send another Atondel because it doesn't count towards him. But yeah, so that's 8 names right there. So we have 8, 9 in grave at the moment. Evil will be our 10th. So from here, we want to start going into the Fiendsmith line. Now, if you don't have the Fiendsmith main deck cards, like Engraver and such, because he's expensive, you can basically just skip a small step here. That basically only matters for the grind game and for just another extender. Otherwise, you basically can turn these into the closed moon. And then Evil will trigger to search for Void Spell or Trap. We'll add Void Banishment. We'll keep that in our hand for now. And now we can turn this into Requiem. Now, again, if you don't have, like the Engravers and stuff, you can basically just link these 2 instantly into a sequence, and you can just continue the combo. But for those that do have the Engravers and stuff, because we can, we'll summon the Requiem and Requiem to summon the Engraver. And now we'll make the sequence. And now I have that Engraver engrave for basically just another body I can put on my board later. So we got the sequence. So now we can perform this. Before we do, I want to activate the Void Banishment because we're not going to activate the card. And we can assume we have 4 other cards in hand. But we're about to do the hand rep effect. So I want to make sure I activate this because I don't want this card to get discarded. I would like to have it for as part of the end board. We'll go sequence effect to fusion summon. We'll shuffle them back. Now you could go, for the Fiendsmith fusion guy, Lacrima, and go from there. But we're not going to be summoning them here. We're actually going to summon Tierra. This is where we're basically going to be hand ripping our opponent, and they're either going to be scooping or be plain branded and still have some things they can do. So we'll summon Tierra by shuffling back the 2 required big ones, those 2 guys, and then basically the rest of every single Infernoid in our grave that should be there. And Evil. So that should be 10 different names. We'll just do a little double count. But yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All different ones. Cool. Alright, so these will get shuffled back into the deck. Let's go back to the extra deck. And then on summon Tierra's effect will activate. Well, both pairs will have to send 3 monsters from the extra deck to the graveyard. So we'll basically just resend the Evil because he's just a free send at that point. Puts him back in the grave. We'll send the Grua, and then we can send the Lacrima. Because he'll trigger, because him or the Desiree are just sent when they're sent to the graveyard from anywhere. So that's kind of cool. So we can do a little free burn here, why not? So we'll send these 3, and then we'll say we'll mill, 3 blank cards, hopefully not Void Feast. That's the only card we don't want to mill basically from the main deck. Anything else we mill would be cool, would be whatever. Sometimes milling a wanted here, that's cool, that's like a free draw. So then new triggers. Basically, we got Garua and Lacrima. Lacrima, you can go ahead and shuffle back like the moon. Burn for 12, and then Garua to draw 1. So we'll draw 1 card, and then before we don't want to use Banishment just yet, because this locks you in Infernoids for the rest of the turn. So we're not done comboing yet. And then also, sorry, I got to return up to 3 banished Noids as well. That's also part of his effect. So I'll return the banished 3 Noids from earlier. Cool. So now I'm going to turn. Let's go ahead and mind you, sometimes you'll have extra bodies. Remember, this is just one Snake Eyes Ash, so this isn't factoring in like Witch, or if we opened up OSS, or or whatever, get Temple to get the Snake Eye DLL stars. So because we got the extra Noids, we'll go ahead and save those still. We'll go ahead and use the engraver. We'll shuffle back Lacrima or Requiem, doesn't matter, summon them, and we'll turn these two into the Princess. And then Princess will summon back a fire, so we're going to summon back Flambridge. And then we're going to link these two, which is one Noid and one or more monsters, into Flood. Flood is pretty generic in that regard, just needs basically an Infernoid. So he's almost like a Raging Phoenix. He's cool. And then we'll go ahead and we could summon back a Noid. We'll go ahead and banish one. We don't need tier anymore. I can banish 2 and 3. We'll summon back that Deviati that we had sent earlier in the combo and banish to summon Atondel, and now returned with Tierra. So now we have a Monster Negate live. And we can go ahead and use Flambridge to place. Now we don't have an IP that would be, ideal. We'll go ahead and place Oak. Oak can go ahead and summon back a Decatron that will get off our feast later to have another negate. And I think that's all we're doing here. And then we'll basically just use the banishment to search for our feast. And so this is basically our end board. And just to play it out and show. So mind you, we've already ripped every single card in their hand with Tierra. So they're only getting whatever they draw for turn and any graveyard effects they may have had from the cards in their hand or the cards from their extra deck. But even so, we have a monster negate here. We have an inherent summon negate, or a summon without an effect. So basically, contact fusion, synchro, XYZ, witch, cast Tierras, things like that. So that's really cool. We have feast that can summon up to 3 Infernos of the deck. We have the zones available for such. So that's another potential pull. 2 negates and a DD Crow. And then we also have Flambridge that can summon Oak to summon a Decatron, which gives us potentially another negate or DD Crow. And then also when Flambridge dies or leaves the field basically, or goes to the graveyard from hand or field, so basically gets tributed for an Infernoid or popped with Princess, then he can float into, either like Ash and Poplar for follow-up, which normal Snake Eye stuff, or you can summon 2 Decatrons back for more interruptions. So basically, yeah, coming to their turn, we'll probably just lead with the Feast, because we don't have a Decatron at the moment. Sometimes you'll have an extra Decatron, so you could just lead with that and hold the Feast. But really, if you've made it this far, it does not matter. So we'll summon we're going to summon the 6, because we put them back in our deck, and we'll summon the 2 Decatrons. All of them are back in the deck at the moment. I got that one, and the other one, and then their effects will trigger. We'll go ahead and send the Spell and Trap Negate, and we can send another Spell and Trap Negate, or we can send the other Monster Negate. Does not matter. Again, this is just assuming you only had 1 Snake Eyes Ash. If you have other cards, I'm able to usually make an Appaloosa as well. So usually I'll just send 2 Spell and Trap Negates, so I'm basically prepared for like double evenly. And then I'll have like 3 Monster Negates with Appaloosa, and then all the fun stuff. But yeah, so basically we'll just say, why not 1 Spell and Trap, 1 Monster. So we have 2 Monster Negates, a Spell and Trap, Inherent Summon Negate, all the fun stuffs, and this is after ripping their hand. So that's basically the combo. Deck's super cool. Obviously, the key part for Evil to work to get you to the Tierra is you basically have to banish a level 8 or higher to get the right amount of Noids. Drawing some of them can make it a little bit weirder because there's only so many unique ones in the deck, so sometimes you can't get to the exact 10. Also, the funny thing about this combo is that basically you're taking all your normal good extenders that like Fiendsmith would offer, and you're turning it into the FDK. So like Sequence would, be used to summon Lacrima, which would be able to, summon your Fiendsmith or add it to hand, and you can do some crazy plays with Beatrice or Appaloosa or whatever. You're basically replacing that whole line with the Tierra. So is it good? Yes, when it goes off. Is it better? Not necessarily, but it's a fun deck regardless, and I enjoyed playing it, and it did earn me an invite to next year's Nats, and you can still potentially post banlist do the combo as long as the Fiendsmith stuff get hits. Because like let's say the Snake Eye stuff gets hit, and you can no longer do the proxy F Magician line. You could still basically open up Polymerization and 2 Noids, and then summon Evil, and as long as it's one of the 8 or higher, you can banish it. There's combos on the video. I think I saw it originally from Yasin. That's what got me interested in doing this combo with this deck. Otherwise, I wasn't going to do it originally, but I'd seen that, and I was like, oh, what if I can do that with the Snake Eyes cards? And I don't even have to even open up, just 2 bricks and a Polymerization, basically 3 unsearchable cards. So, yeah, that's basically the combo. If you guys have any questions or things you want to add or ideas, feel free to add. But this is basically my rendition of the deck. Like I said, I did watch at least a good handful of other people's rendition of the deck over the past month, so just to kind of see what they were doing. And seems like other people were definitely playing a little bit more non-engine, more hand traps, or more board breakers or something. So probably a little more competitive than my version. Mine was probably a little more consistency forward and more just I guess more extenders. But that's basically what I was going for. But yeah, thanks for watching. Clean Kai and the gents signing out.